On this episode of Watch Stuff With Us, we are previewing Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer Story on Netflix. Thanks for checking out another episode of Watch Stuff With Us. Please make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that you will be notified every time we go live. So this time, we have watched the first episode of the show. And right now, if you can't tell, the screen looks a little different. We are doing a live stream, and we are going to break down Evan Peters discussing the complexities of playing Jeffrey Dahmer. And I was very, very, very impressed with the way he acted in the first episode. Like you can tell that he was like super invested in the character. So I'm kind of interested in seeing what he has to say. And we haven't watched this ahead of time or anything like that. So we're going to watch it and sort of react to it live. I might pause it a few times so we don't get YouTube strikes. And we will discuss it. And if you are watching live with us, drop a comment and let us know what you think of Mr. Peters as well. So without further ado, here we go. Let's watch.
Well, I sort of started with a blank slate with Dahmer. I only had the image of the hazmat suits and the blue vat coming out of the building, which I didn't even know was an apartment complex. I found out later that it was the Oxford apartments where he committed most of his acts. Brian sent me the scripts and then called and said, Dahmer is interesting in that he is almost regretful and has guilt and sort of confusion about what went on. He's and doesn't really have the charming, mischievous smile. He's docile, sort of aloof. And
is he still alive? I know the answer to this. Do you want me to spoil that part of the show for you? We'll just let you watch it. We'll let you watch it.
Yeah,
I know the answer
to that.
I know the answer to that question though. Okay. But yeah, it was interesting that Dahmer does come off as almost a reluctant killer to some degree, remorseful to some degree, but I don't think that he is, at least coming off that first episode.
He's just so awkward that I can't get a good read on him. I don't really know how he feels. I mean, honestly, we've only watched the first one and I didn't look into him too much prior, but he's a very awkward, like socially awkward individual, and I don't know, I'm still trying to figure him out. If anybody can.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody really was able to figure out his motive. I hope they delve into that in the show and break down the reasoning behind why he's doing this.
Yeah.
One of the things that has me slightly nervous about the show is that it's 10 episodes. And most of the time you're like, oh my gosh, it's 10 episodes or something, like that's great. I just want to know how they're going to be able to extend this story for 10 episodes. So it makes me nervous. I hope there aren't any filler episodes or the ones where you're just like, I didn't really need it to see.
I don't know how many murders
detail.
he committed. I really should have looked into this more. But maybe that's an episode for murder, or more episodes on his background in his childhood. That'd be curious.
Stevia says she will not spoil it.
Thank you.
Thank you for not spoiling it. And like I said, I'm sure I know more about it than Katie does, but I don't know all the details either. And that's one of the things that I'm kind of excited to see is how the story and the telling of the story unfolds. So we shall see. Let's keep going with the video though.
I'm almost disassociated from what he did. I immediately went to YouTube and watched. He told me also to watch the Stone Phillips interview, and so I watched that, and then proceeded to read biographies, and I was able to read the police report and his confession. I found on YouTube some audio of what sounds like a psychologist interviewing him, or even a detective, where he's sort of relaying sort of what he went through, and the way that he's speaking is very candid and very normal. Again, it was
just to jump in real quick, it seems like he didn't do a ton of research. Like, I mean, he's saying that he did some research, but he didn't do a ton of research. And I wonder, did he purposefully do that so that he could sort of, I guess, learn more about the character as he went on, or learn more about the character from the direction of the director? Like, I would think that you would want to watch everything possible if you were doing a biography of someone, pretty much, because you'd want to know as much as you could about them, like their
Mhm.
mannerisms, like where did
Unless you don't
he.
want to get sucked in too much to the dark traits of, because they were saying, a lot of people have been saying that they're concerned about him as an actor because he does do a lot of these dark twisted roles, and
Right.
sometimes when actors do that, it doesn't end up well for their mental health. So I know that people are concerned for him for that. So I don't know if maybe he's trying not to get, trying to portray him but not try to get too sucked in. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
could
would.
go either way.
If I was an actor, I would try my best to learn. Like, I would want to know everything and try to pick up everything. But he does sort of come across as the type that would, totally absorb himself into the character. So, and he looks like he's doing a great job from the first episode that we've seen. So,
Yeah.
So jaw dropping that it all really happened, that it felt important to be respectful to the victims' families, to try to tell the story as authentically as we could. And, you need to have certain plot points because he did do these things, but you don't need to embellish them. We get it. We don't.
that's one of the things that we touched on during the episode, and that was one of the things that is really drawing me to the show, is that this isn't a work of fiction. This isn't something that somebody said, oh, it would be a really cool story if we did this or we talked about that. No, all of this stuff happened,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there is a little bit of TVication done to it to make it an actual show, and it might be embellished a little bit, but these are all actual events.
Yeah, and he's
And
saying the families, you gotta keep it,
right,
you gotta
right,
keep it up,
yeah, and you,
kind to the families.
yes, and you want to be respectful of the people who passed away. Like, you would want to portray the show and make it, super stylistic, because that isn't how it was. And
Don't want to make him seem like a cool guy.
right, 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 because he really wasn't.
Don't need to see it over and over again. Honestly, I was very scared about all of the things that he did, and diving into that and trying to commit to that was absolutely going to be one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, because I wanted it to be very authentic. But in order to do that, I was going to have to go to really dark places and stay there for an extended period of time.
That'll be an
I have
interesting
to.
episode.
Oh man, yeah. But there's the talk of going into a dark place to, sort of be
To channel
embody
it.
the person,
Mhm.
and the like that has to be tough. Like,
Yeah,
how do you
because you
turn it
want to.
off?
I know you need to separate like work from home life, and I feel like something like that would get stuck in your head, and
Yeah.
you'd be thinking about it when you go to
Do
sleep.
you
You think
think
about it when you
do
wake
you
up.
think he went home and like ate human hearts?
No,
Maybe he got like a pig heart or two and just like ate that.
I
I've
know.
had pig heart before.
Nasty.
It was weird. And it had like the arteries and stuff like still connected to it, and they were pretty thick. It was interesting. I had to try it just to say I tried
You're gonna lose us viewers. It's nasty.
it. Have you tried heart? Drop it in the comments below.
Save me.
Say that the crew was instrumental in keeping me on the guardrails. I cannot thank them enough, and I could not have done any of this role without them. Specifically, Sarah, our focus puller, who was just such a breath of fresh air and light. When we were filming some of these horrific scenes, Jason, our DP, who sort of kept reminding me of sort of why we were doing it. It was easy, showing up there every day, telling the story of Jeffrey Dahmer, to get lost in that. It was a challenge to try to have this person who seemingly was so normal, but underneath all of it had this entire world that he was keeping secret from everybody. So, we had one rule going into this from Ryan that it would never be told from Dahmer's point of view. As an audience, you're not really sympathizing with him. You're not really getting into his plight. You're more sort of watching it, from the outside. It's called the Jeffrey Dahmer story, but it's not just him and his backstory. It's the repercussions. It's the society. It's this how society and our system failed to stop him multiple times because of rape.
And that was one of the things that you brought up. Do you remember what your point was on the show about that?
Oh, I know that when I had thought that it was the first episode, I know I had commented on that.
Well, you also talked about the neighbor and how she must have felt.
Oh yeah, after she
wanna
reported
explain it?
over and over and over again, and had to live there through the smells and had to live there through the sounds. I mean, it definitely takes a toll on your psychological health, but also, why are you still there? Like, she needed to go, and it had to be super frustrating to report that over and over and over and have nobody. I mean, I'm assuming nobody came and checked it out. She made it sound like nobody came and, um, was invested in what she was saying. I mean, if you say you hear things that sound like cutting tools and screaming for help and you smell weird smells all the time, I would think anybody who heard that would come and check it out, but
Yeah.
apparently they must not have.
Racism, homophobia. It's just a tragic story that affected everybody. Gets their side of the story told, and it's really the Jeffrey Dahmer story is so much bigger than just him.
Yeah, it's very interesting to hear Evan talk about it.
Yeah.
Stevia says, I think the neighbor didn't have the means to go somewhere else. It's alluded to in episode 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, everybody can't just up and move. Everybody can't just go somewhere else or stay somewhere else. I mean, and I guess you have to, like, we don't know their situation or we don't know her situation. Maybe she couldn't for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I think if it was me in that situation, I would have to find somehow, some way to get away.
I'd go to a friend's house, I'd be in my car somewhere.
And I mean, maybe it's, us being naive that she has somebody, maybe she doesn't. Like,
Right.
there are a lot of people, like,
It could have been a tough situation.
yeah, there are a lot of people who don't have anyone. They don't have anywhere to go, or they have to. They're forced to take care of themselves.
Right. Then I hope that she gathered like some weapons as the show progresses.
Yeah, I hope so too.
She needs something.
Yes, to have something for a little bit of protection.
I'm surprised she keeps coming out in the hallway though to like talk to him and check on him and ask him questions. You can tell she's clearly terrified of him. Stay in. Like, don't be nosy. If you can see him through your peephole, stay there.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess she was still trying to figure out exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but
as he comes walking towards her though, like, go back in your apartment, close the door in his face. Scary.
Yeah.
Don't just stand there and
yeah. And then at a certain point too, though, like she's maybe she's doubting herself. She's done so much and complained so much, and nobody's going there to try to help. So maybe she's like, well, shoot, maybe I just got this guy picked wrong. Maybe I'm making up all this stuff.
Maybe I never had smelled the smell of rotting pork chops.
Pork chops. Maybe it is the pork chops.
Pork chops.
I mean, I love the way that he kept saying that it was.
It's a pork chops.
His family gave him pork chops.
Fish.
Yes, with ick.
Yeah.
With ick. So yeah, maybe it was, but I can understand to some degree why she spoke with him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she was afraid, but
I don't know. That would not have been what I had done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely not me either. Me either.